somewhere in the infinite expanse of the multiverse, there exists an Earth that is almost identical to ours. Same continents, same oceans, same sky. But one thing is different. One fundamental rule of reality has been rewritten, and that single change transforms everything about what it means to be human. Welcome to Earth-4721. There is an Earth, we'll call it Earth-4721, where your first kiss exists in a glass vial on someone's nightstand. Your mother's voice, the exact timbre and warmth of it, sits in a velvet-lined box in a stranger's collection. That summer, you felt truly alive. Really, genuinely alive. Now belongs to someone who's never felt the sun on their own skin the way you did. This isn't metaphor. This isn't poetry. On Earth-4721, memories are physical objects. Tangible, tradable, bought and sold like stocks, or diamonds, or souls. And once you understand how this works, once you really understand it, you'll never think about consciousness the same way again. The process is called extraction. You sit in a chair, not unlike a dentist chair actually, and a device touches your temple. It feels cold, metallic. There's a moment where your vision blurs, and then the memory begins to pour out of you. Not metaphorically, it literally pours. At first, it looks like liquid light, swirling, iridescent, carrying within it every sensation, every emotion, every microscopic detail of that moment you're surrendering. The technician catches it in a crystallization chamber, and within seconds, it solidifies. What emerges is something between a gemstone and a photograph, a memory crystal. It pulses faintly with its own light. And if you hold it up to your eye, you can see the memory playing inside like a movie. But it's more than that, so much more. Here's what makes it profound and terrifying. When someone else experiences your memory crystal, they don't just watch your memory. They become you in that moment. They feel what you felt. They think your thoughts. For those seconds or minutes, they are you. Complete cognitive transfer. And you, the original owner, you no longer have access to it. The memory doesn't fade gradually like it might for us. It's just gone. Perfectly excised. A blank space where something precious used to live. You might remember that the memory existed. You might remember that you had a first kiss. But you can't recall the feeling, can't taste it, can't relive it. It belongs to someone else now. Once you understand that memories can be extracted and traded, the next question becomes obvious. What are they worth? On Earth-4721, an entire economy has formed around the commodification of human experience. Memory markets exist in every major city. Sprawling bazaars where you can browse through other people's lives like you might browse through a library. Or a wine collection. The pricing structure is disturbing in its logic. Common memories are cheap. Your average Tuesday afternoon. A mediocre meal. The feeling of waiting in line. These sell for pocket change, often to researchers studying mundane cognition or to AI training programs learning human behavior. Emotional memories cost more. First loves, births of children, the moment you realized your dream. These are luxury items, bought by the wealthy who want to feel something real, something they've never experienced in their own hollow lives. But the rarest memories, the ones that fetch astronomical prices, are the impossible ones. But here's where Earth-4721 becomes truly haunting. What happens to your sense of self when you start selling pieces of it? Philosophers on this earth have debated this for generations. They call it the ship of Theseus problem, but for consciousness. If you replace every plank of a ship one by one, is it still the same ship? And if you remove every memory that made you who you are you still you? There are people who have sold so many memories that they no longer recognize themselves in photographs. They look at their own wedding album and feel nothing. Just a vague awareness that this happened to someone who used to live in their body. And then there are the memory addicts. People who buy experiences compulsively, living vicariously through others because their own lives feel inadequate. They become nobody, just vessels for other people's joy, other people's pain, other people's existence. Some of them forget which memories are actually theirs. Imagine having a childhood memory that feels completely real. The texture, the emotions, the sensory details, only to discover later that you bought it, that it never happened to you, that you're remembering someone else's mother tucking them in at night, and you've confused it with your own past. The psychology journals on this earth are filled with case studies of people who've become unmoored from reality, living in a patchwork consciousness made of fragments from hundreds of different lives. Who are they anymore? Do they even exist as individuals? Or are they just compilations? Every society reveals its true nature through what it chooses to commodify. On Earth-4721, the memory trade has created a class system more rigid than anything we can imagine. The wealthy, they never sell, they only buy. They collect experiences like art, the joy of others, the suffering of others, the entire range of human existence, without ever risking their own. The poor, they're systematically harvested. There are contracts, predatory, legal contracts, where people sign away future memories before they even create them. Pregnant women sell the memory of their child's birth before labor begins. Athletes sell their victory moments before the competition. Artists sell their creative breakthroughs before the inspiration strikes. It's futures trading, but for human consciousness. And then there are the ethical questions that keep philosophers awake at night on this earth. Should it be legal to sell a memory of committing a crime? If someone buys your memory of murder, are they guilty of the crime? They experienced it. They felt the intent. For those moments, they were the killer. What about memories of trauma? There are therapeutic applications. Trauma extraction could heal PTSD, remove the weight of unbearable experiences. But there are also markets for buying other people's suffering. Wealthy thrill seekers who want to know what war feels like, what loss feels like, what true fear feels like, without any actual risk. They're tourists in other people's nightmares. And what about children? On Earth-4721, there's fierce debate about memory rights. Some parents sell their children's memories without consent, early childhood experiences, formative moments that shape development, traded away before the child is old enough to understand what they've lost. Those children grow up with gaps in their personal history, blank spots where their foundations should be. Perhaps nothing reveals the tragedy of Earth-4721 more than what happens to love. Relationships on this earth exist under a constant, terrible temptation. When things go wrong, when love dies, when betrayal happens, when the pain becomes unbearable, there's an option that doesn't exist in our world. You can simply erase it. Sell the memory of the person who hurt you. Remove them from your consciousness entirely. The relationship, the heartbreak, the years of investment, gone, crystallized, sold to someone else who wants to experience love without the commitment. Some people call it liberation. Why carry the weight of past pain when you can be free of it? But here's what they discover, those who erase their heartbreaks. Without the memory of pain, you can't fully appreciate the memory of joy. The love they experienced, even if they keep those memories, becomes hollow, contextless. They remember being happy with someone, but they don't remember why that happiness mattered. They don't remember the vulnerability it took to get there, the risk, the growth. They become people who've experienced love, but never learned from it. And so they repeat the same patterns, make the same mistakes. Because their consciousness has been selectively edited into a highlight reel that teaches them nothing. There's a famous case on Earth-4721, a cautionary tale everyone knows. A man who sold every memory of his wife after she died. The grief was too much. He wanted to forget, to move on, to be free of the crushing weight of loss. He sold their wedding day, the first home, the birth of their children, every conversation, every touch, every moment of their 40 years together. And then, about a year later, he saw a photograph, him and the woman he didn't recognize. They were smiling, looking at each other with obvious love. His children were there, younger versions, children he barely remembered having. Someone told him that was his wife. He stared at the photo for hours, trying to feel something. Anything. He couldn't. He'd sold his grief, but he'd also sold his love, his entire marriage, the foundation of his identity as a father, as a husband, as a man who'd been deeply known by another person. He was free from the pain, but he was also free from himself. So let's ask the question that haunts everyone on Earth-4721. What are you, if not your memories? We like to think of ourselves as souls, as some essential core that exists beyond our experiences. But neuroscience on both their Earth and ours suggests something more unsettling. You are your memories. Your personality is just patterns formed by past experiences. Your beliefs are crystallized reactions to things you've encountered. Your sense of humor, your fears, your desires, all of it is built on the foundation of remembered moments. Strip those away, and what remains? On this earth, there are people, many people, who've sold so much of themselves that they've become empty. Not in a poetic sense, literally empty. They have no preferences because they don't remember forming any. No strong emotions because they've sold all the moments that taught them how to feel. They're conscious, but barely present. The philosophers of Earth-4721 have a term for this. They call it experiential bankruptcy, the state of having consumed or sold so many memories that you no longer have an authentic self to speak from. You're just a marketplace, the trading platform for other people's realities. And here's the truly terrifying part. Many people on this earth don't see this as a problem. They see it as evolution, Why be limited to one life when you can experience thousands? Why suffer through your own mediocre existence when you can buy the peak experiences of the most extraordinary humans who've ever lived? They're building a new kind of consciousness, one that isn't bound to individual identity, a collective experience market where the boundaries between people dissolve entirely. Is that transcendence? Or is it extinction? Before we leave Earth-4721, let's acknowledge something uncomfortable. We like to think their world is alien, dystopian, a cautionary tale that could never apply to us. But look around our own Earth. We're already trading our experiences, just differently. We live moments not to experience them, but to capture them, to post them, to commodify them for attention, for validation, for social currency. How many of us have watched a concert through a phone screen, sacrificing the memory of being present so we could own the performance of having been there? We trade our attention, our consciousness, our precious, limited consciousness for algorithmic content designed to keep us consuming other people's curated lives. We're not so different from Earth-4721. We've just externalized the extraction process. So here's what Earth-4721 forces us to confront. If you could sell your worst memory, the one that haunts you, that wakes you up at 3 a.m, that makes you question whether you'll ever be okay, would you? If you could buy the experience of perfect love without the risk of heartbreak, would you? If you could live 1,000 lives through other people's memories instead of struggling through your own imperfect existence, would you? And if you did, would you still be you? Or would you just be a collection of experiences, without the thread of continuous identity that makes those experiences meaningful? Earth-4721 doesn't have answers. Neither do I. But the question remains, floating in the space between who we are and who we're afraid of becoming. What are you without your memories? And, more importantly, what are you willing to forget to become someone else? Somewhere in the multiverse, Earth-4721 continues its experiment with consciousness. Some sell, some buy, some refuse to participate, all of them wondering if they're more human for it, or less. If this glimpse into another world made you question your own reality, if it changed how you think about memory, identity, or what it means to be truly present in your own life, then maybe we've accomplished something here. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed exploring Earth-4721 with me, I'd love for you to leave a like. It helps more people discover these strange worlds we're documenting together. Subscribe if you want to journey to more alternate Earths where reality works differently. Each one reveals something profound about our own existence. And drop a comment below. I'm genuinely curious. Would you sell a memory if you could? Which one? And what would you want to buy? The multiverse is infinite. The questions are endless, and we've only just begun to explore. I'll see you in the next reality.